My wife has told me multiple times that she finds Kickstarters way sexier than electric starts. Like, she thinks that me kickstarting my motorcycle is cooler than me just hitting a button. So you should probably keep this in mind as you select a motorcycle, especially if you're hoping to use your motorcycle to get a girl. She's not probably going to be interested if it just has an electric start. So unless you want to get an old motorcycle, you're probably going to have to go for one of the bikes on this list. No fear, however, I'm here to bring you 6 new motorcycles that still have Kickstarters, and you should know there's a good chance these bikes are just actually going to attract old men to you. Like, the idea of using a motorcycle to get a girl, it's not really a thing. You're probably just going to have more guys looking at you. Also, you should know that a few of the bikes on this list are just out of production. Like, some of these companies just stopped producing them. You could still get one new, probably, or basically new. And then the rest of the ones on this list are just brand new. Like, you can get them brand new from a manufacturer with a warranty and everything. So without further ado, let's jump in. Oh, also, I forgot, no dirt bikes. We're not counting dirt bikes. There are some dirt bikes that still have Kickstarters on them, but who needs dirt bikes? All right, the first 3 motorcycles on this list are technically not brand new, as they stopped making them a few years ago, and that is true of the Yamaha SR400, the only street bike produced recently by one of the big 4 Japanese companies to have a kickstart. The Yamaha SR400 is a beautiful, simple, classically designed retro bike that really does look old. To me, a Bonneville looks like it's trying to look old, and they're cool, for sure, but you can tell it's not actually old. Whereas a Yamaha SR400 looks truly like an old bike. So if you want something affordable, this is a great option for a bike. It has a really good, solid history. They're super reliable, super simple. It's a single cylinder bike that weighs almost exactly the same as my old bike, about 380 pounds wet. It does only produce 27 horsepower, which is quite a bit less than my bike, but it's not that bad either. It's enough to get you down the road for sure. It's a great cheap option for those of you looking to get a retro bike, and they do really hold their value. People want these. And the most important thing, this bike has a Kickstarter. Actually, it only has a Kickstarter. I believe it's the only one on our list that doesn't also have an electric start, which is pretty rad if you ask me. Great option for those of you wanting an old bike with some of that just sort of newer reliability. All right, next we have the Sym Wolf Classic. This is a bike that really inspired me to get something retro styled. This is one of the first retro motorcycles I'd ever seen. This is a bike that was discontinued, I believe, in 2018, though Sym was primarily known at this time for making scooters. The Wolf Classic was a proper motorcycle. This is a 150cc bike, so even less power than the SR400, about 15 or so horsepower, but that's still more power than a Grom. I like to compare bikes to Groms, especially like small capacity bikes. But sometimes you see a 125 or 150 and you think, oh, it's going to be so slow. Well, a Grom isn't that slow. You can have fun on a Grom, and this produces almost twice as much horsepower. And it's great. Like, it looks cool. It's a sweet little around town bike, or a great beginner bike if you're just wanting to get started. Now, I believe this has both a Kickstarter and an electric start. On the site, it says they only have an electric start, but I know that's not true. You can literally see a Kickstarter right there on the right side. And the person I knew who had one of these, I'm pretty sure it had a Kickstarter on it. Anyways, that's good if you do want to have both, one as a backup for the other. In fact, I think having a kickstart is a really nice backup for an electric start, and I wish more bikes had them, or just like had this setup of having both. Or it'd be really cool even if you just had like a kickstart that was like under the seat that you could just like attach really quick to the crankshaft. Yeah, that's probably not possible, but that would be cool. All right, our last new but discontinued motorcycle goes to the Royal Enfield Classic 500. Sadly, the new Royal Enfield Classic 350 that's coming out, or that is already out, won't have a Kickstarter, which I guess makes sense. But anyways, they just discontinued the 500 about a year ago, and I'm sure you could get your hands on one pretty easily if you wanted. Now, this bike has real heritage. So many of the retro motorcycles we see were either, stopped being produced for long periods of time, or just sort of copies of old bikes. But in this case, Royal Enfield had been making the Bullet, and the evolution of that bike was the Classic since the late 40s. So this bike, it has a long history. They're super reliable, really solid bikes. They're like tractors. This Classic 500 is a 500cc single cylinder thumper. It's heavy and it's slow, but hey, it looks like a straight up World War II bike, and those bikes were slow too. If you want to learn more about this bike from someone who really loves this bike and loves Royal Enfield, check out Stuart Fillingham's videos. I've watched a ton of his videos. He has some really helpful content. And yeah, he has kind of a different take on retro bikes than a lot of people. He also has a great video on how to wash your motorcycle, and he's kind of an expert at that. So I would definitely recommend watching those as well. I'll link all that stuff in the description below. Definitely check out his channel. But yeah, this bike rocks a Kickstarter and an electric start just in case, you know, you're riding and you break your leg and yeah, you can't start it. Or maybe you're just not in the mood. You can just use that electric start. All right, now we're on to new motorcycles that are being produced brand new today. And first we have the AJS. This is a company that I've talked about a few times. And how fitting is it for these bikes to have kickstarts? This is just genius. They should have kickstarts. They're probably some of the most thoroughly British looking, thoroughly retro motorcycles I've seen. They really, really look like old bikes. And I love that they have a Kickstarter there on the side. For me, a Kickstarter is almost, I don't know, it's a big part of the aesthetic. It's more than just getting to kick it over to start it. It really adds to that classic look. I do think some other bikes should have it, like the Bonnevilles. That would be really cool if you could just have an add-on, like a Kickstarter option for, say, the Interceptor or the Bonnevilles. That would be awesome. Now, these AJS bikes are similar in price and power to a Grom, but in my opinion, they're way cooler looking. You won't have all the technical support or probably reliability that you have from a Honda, but these engines are reliable. A lot of these companies that are making small bikes like this, we're going to talk about another company that does this. They're using old engines, not old, but like engines that have been around and have had lots of evolutions. A lot of times Japanese engines, and they're just super, super reliable. So yeah, you can't go wrong with these kinds of bikes. But yeah, these bikes have both a kickstart and an electric start, which is good. They are carb rated, however, so you may not want to go that route. You may want something fuel injected. Again, these new bikes that have carburetors, they're easy and simple. Like, you're not going to have a lot of problems with them, and anybody can work on them. So, all right, number 2 on our list of new motorcycles that feature Kickstarters is Ural, the Russian sidecar motorcycle company. Now, there is certainly a case to be made against Urals, as they're essentially overly expensive, cheaply made Russian machines that are, like many of the Royal Enfields, including the Classic 500, they're a bit antiquated, they're heavy, they're not the best build qualities. They're really cool, I like them, and if you have the money and you want a modern sidecar machine, you want something cool and interesting and different, then go for it. But personally, I would get an old sidecar setup. An old Royal Enfield, for example, with a sidecar is going to hold its value better. It's going to be better made and probably more reliable. I saw one the other day, and they're head turners for sure. They're really cool looking and seems like a cool company. So I can't talk all bad about these, and I definitely need to go ride one to say for sure, but it seems like a lot of people consider them kind of junky for just how much you're spending. If they were $7,000 or $6,000, it'd be different, but they're like $15,000 or more, which is crazy. All right, last one on our list, we've got the boutique American company Janus that is making small capacity retro inspired, really unique motorcycles. Janus is a really, really cool company. These are in-house bikes for the most part, except for the engines, which is fine because the engines, again, are super reliable. They're easy to work on, single cylinder engines. It's an air-cooled engine that originated with Honda back in the 70s, I believe, but it's still produced today by current manufacturers. I believe they come from China at this point, but you know, it has that history of Japanese engineering, and they're solid, just super solid. And it's really interesting that these are carbureted bikes that you can purchase in all 50 states. It's no easy feat getting a carbureted new street legal bike to sell in all 50 states, especially California. Janus bikes all come with both an electric and a kickstart, and you can get one for between $8,000 and $14,000 depending on what model you pick. And if you want to buy a new motorcycle that could be a good investment, say 20, 30, 40 years from now, this is pretty cool. This is an American company. No other American company is doing what Janus is doing, and they're really cool. They've also recently updated their bike builder on the site, so I would absolutely recommend clicking on the link below. I've got links for all these bikes down below, but especially this one. Go click on the link and just go have fun building different bikes and different color schemes. There's a ton of options and it's really easy to use. I remember hearing that they were going to update their bike builder on the site, and they've done such a good job with it. It's super fun. So yeah, a bit of an expensive option in my opinion. These are really cool and unique though. So yeah, they definitely deserve to be on the list. And of course, they have a Kickstarter. So yeah. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you found some options if you're looking to kickstart your bike. And if there's any that I forgot, definitely let me know. down in the comments below. And until next time, ride safe.